Hello everybody, we're back with another instalment of Teach Me in 10, the video series that is brought to you by LabTube, part of Technology Networks. My name is Molly and I'm a science writer here at Technology Networks. And at Teach Me in 10, we invite scientists to be our guest and explore scientific research areas or scientific concepts in less than 10 minutes. In this week's episode, we're going to be exploring the concept of neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to adapt and change over time. Joining us to explore what neuroplasticity is and how we can harness it is the world-leading researcher in this area, Dr. Michael Merzenich.
We're going to talk today about how the brain changes as a function of how you use it. We call that brain change neuroplasticity. Your brain is being continuously remodeled by its use all across the span of your life. We call those physical and functional changes in the brain's wiring, and that's just the tip of the iceberg because there are many other changes that support your brain's function and health. We call that neuroplasticity. Now, through those plastic processes, your brain has already accomplished four really amazing things within your skull, within every skull. It's created that special, incredible version of your world. Everything you understand about that world, everything you know, everything you see and hear and feel in that world has been created as a construct in your brain by brain change. What an amazing thing that is. It created your operational personhood. Every skill you have refined, every ability that expresses what you're capable of, what you can do, all of that has been created by the specialization of your brain, by your brain changing itself by use. It created yourself. Every time you feel, every time you think, every time you act, that feeling, that acting, that thinking is associated with its source, and that source is you. Billions and billions and billions of moments of self-reference have actually created the entity that is you. You have emerged from it, from this process. And as you've emerged and got stronger and stronger, you've created and developed agency. You've developed command center powers. You've now established the captaincy of your little ship. You're in control, you're in charge, and all of that occurs amazingly through physical change in the brain within your skull. It's a gift from the gods because your self is absolutely one of a kind. It's so complicated. It's so unbelievably complicated. And your own history, your own life passage is unique. And therefore, the instrument within your skull, your brain, another version of the most complicated instrument ever produced on planet Earth, is absolutely one of a kind. There'll never be another one exactly like it. Cannot be. Never will be. Just like you, just like your very own brain. Now, how is the brain changed by use? Well, first of all, the brain receives information from its dendrites, that's shown to the left, those little processes sprouting out all around the cell. It comes in many variations, and information is transmitted by an axon, it's all electrical, to branches of the axon, to little balls at the end of the axon, which we call synapses. And these are the communication sites in which information is passed from cell to cell in a kind of bucket brigade. And those synapses are changed by use. They can be stronger if the brain judges that those connections are important, or if they're occurring appropriately in coordination with other neurons, the brain thinks that's a good thing, it'll strengthen them. Or those synapses can and because they're strengthened, the electrical signals they generate, these are real electrical signals shown at the bottom, become stronger, or they can weaken. Synapses can become stronger or weaker, they can fall off, or new ones can form. Brain synapses, wiring connections, are plastic. They change continuously on a large scale throughout our life. And you can say, well, how in holy hell can this account for me? Changes in the wiring on these little balls at the end of the processes of neurons communicating information from one neuron to another count for me. Well, I just want to say that, first of all, it's occurring on a massive scale. The brain has about 85 billion of these brain cells, connected by more than 200 trillion synapses, and they're all plastic. And in your lifetime, there will be 4 or 5 quadrillions of moments of change in the synapses of your brain within your very own skull across the span of your life. Change occurring on a massive scale. Now, 4 quadrillion is a very big number. If I was to estimate or define the distance between the moon and Earth and back again in centimeters, it would take me about 75,000 trips to the moon and back to get to the number of centimeters that equals 4 quadrillion. It's a very big number. The change that's occurring within your skull in your lifetime is massive. Remember that your brain can record and store all of the information, equivalent to the information or more than the information on the internet. You're carrying that around within you, within the bones of your skull. A few things you should know about your plasticity, your neuroplasticity in this brain. First of all, your brain is a work in progress. It's continuously revising its wiring. You have the capacity to be better and stronger tomorrow as opposed to today, and you have that capacity across the duration, the full duration of your life. Second of all, brains actually get more powerful, get stronger as a result of the refinement of the machinery that's driven by specific patterns of brain use. It's a little bit like coming into the world with a computer that's very primitive, maybe 20, 30-year-old computer. And now, by use, you've made that computer more and more powerful, more and more effective. And you've actually grown that ability by engaging your brain in use in ways that's advanced it. When you learn any new skill or ability, you actually specialize the brain, and that specialization accounts for that acquisition and that improvement. And beyond brain wiring, there are many other positive physical changes that empower that ability. It's like exercising your body. Everything that supports your effective movement abilities gets stronger. Same too with your brain. Everything improves. We understand the rules that govern plasticity. They're subject of tens of thousands of scientific studies, but nothing in the brain has been studied in more detail. And following those rules, of course, they have limits. We can modify the brain at will. We know how to harness the genie to control change for good. Change is controlled by the brain's own evaluation of what's important for it and what constitutes success. The brain actually holds information in place as it's engaged in the world, and if it judges it to be important or contributed to success, it says, save that one, strengthen those synapses, embed that, and make this part of the permanent record. Remodeling processes are inherently bidirectional. That's really important to understand. The brain can be changed in a positive or negative way, again, by following those rules of plasticity. The machinery is designed to be bidirectional. Finally, mental illnesses, aberrant behaviors, including addictions, are expected end stage. They're not really diseases. They're the end stage of long progressions of negative neuroplastic revision. So the brain can get into trouble because it is plastic. And that plasticity can lead it off into, you could say, holes, into bad places. Now, a key aspect of these processes that express neuroplasticity is their reversibility. I want to say a little bit more about this. You can look at a brain that's old. You can look at a brain that's struggling because it's had a lousy environment. The environment early life has been full of abuse or fear-loaded or seriously struggling all along. And you can compare those brains, old or struggling, with the brains of that's healthy and vigorous and full of it because life circumstances have been better or it's still young. And you can say, well, how many of I look at many things, many aspects of brain function, physical, functional, chemical, and say how many of these things are different in the brain of someone that's had a terrible early life or a good early life, or the brain is merely old versus in full of it in a young life. Everything's different. How many of those things advantage the brain that's been struggling, the brain that's old, or the brain that's full of it and healthy? Nothing advantages it. Older brains, abused brains, are struggling in every respect in index after index. And you say, well, how many of those things are actually reversible? How many things can be changed by engaging the brain in appropriate forms of training? And the answer is everything's reversible. With simple forms of training, all negative changes can be reversed. Now, what's recovered? Well, the physical machinery recovers. Its chemistry, its plasticity control, change processes recover. Defenses recover. Nutritional support recovers. Information processing machinery recovers. Recording machinery recovers. Executive control machinery can recover. Speed back. Accuracy is back. Associative powers are back. Alertness and brightness are back. Distractor suppression is back. It's all plastic. It's like your body. I exercise my body in an appropriate way. Everything is healthier. Everything that supports that movement, everything that supports that action is healthier. Same too with your brain. My colleagues and I have tried to harness the genie, and we've developed brain plasticity does exercises called Brain HQ to be deployed on internet-connected computers, pads, and smartphones, and it's all about advancing brain performance and health. These tools are adaptive, they're optimized for rapid gains, they're targeted to address all kinds of things that can go wrong with the brain or you want to strengthen about a brain. They're extensive because lots of ways to improve the brain, lots of ways to strengthen it, lots of ways to recover it. You can continuously validate outcomes by just measuring how performance is improving as you exercise. And then they're proven to work by hundreds of trials. Hundreds of studies have been conducted across the world. Active targets in translational research include brain performance, apprenticeship, athletic performance, scholastic performance, mental illness, overcoming negative plasticity arising from traumatic childhoods, recovery and sustaining organic health, improving performance when the brain has an inherited problem like autism or other pervasive developmental disorders, overcoming dyslexia, dyscalculia, apraxia, a whole series of things like this, overcoming ADHD, growing emotional control, growing social cognition and control, growing social attachment, overcoming sociopathy, which is a terrible plague, and recovering from traumatic brain injuries, addiction, prevention, treatment, being strong so you don't fall into addiction again, overcoming oppositional behaviors. Maybe you're in prison, maybe you want to live a better life, maybe you can recover yourself neurologically so you can safely do that, and preventing a progression to Alzheimer's disease and other neuropathological diseases like MS, LES, Parkinson's disease, a host of other things. Now, it won't happen overnight, but this is a revolution in our times, which will ultimately be recognized at the time in history when we first began to understand how to routinely evaluate, repair, and manage our brain health all across the span of our life. We finally began to implement strategies that grow resilience in children and adults who are at risk for a host of preventable neurological and psychiatric diseases. So much of the struggling and pain in humankind does not have to happen because we know how to drive positive changes in brains that keep us safer. This is an era in which we first understood that an individual's neurological status is the primary determinant of their academic and occupational and personal success or failure, and that every individual on the planet should have a neurologically stronger brain. We've been blaming people for things that their brain should be blamed for way too long. And finally, we more reliably and more continuously help every child and adult adopt habits that support a lifetime of continuous personal growth. You have a great gift. You have a great gift, and your gift is the gift of the capacity to change your life and your abilities for the better. Use that gift. And at last but not least, this is an era in which we are finally able to address long-standing issues about the origins of our personhoods, of our self, of our humanity's achievements and strengths and failures and weaknesses. From the beginning of human history, we've posed these questions, we've pondered over these issues in philosophical terms, and now we're scientifically resolving them in biological terms. We truly begin for the first time to understand ourselves. And this is all on the path to changing life for all of us, very much for the better. And it's a revolution. Get in on it, learn about it. If you want to start in learning more, look to my book. Also, go to softbrainhq.com. There's lots of information there, lots of interesting things you can learn there. And if you have a personal question to ask me, please feel free to do that. Write to me and let me know how I can help you understand and get into this literature, the science more directly.
Here at Teach Me in 10, we would like to say a huge thank you to Dr. Merzenich for joining us at Teach Me in 10 and talking to us about neuroplasticity. If you'd like to learn more about this research area, please do check out the video description below for further resources. We'll be back next week for another instalment of Teach Me in 10. If you can't wait until then, make sure you check out our hub page where you can find the full collection of videos that we've published to date. Take care and see you soon.